Welcome to the HU Move Makers podcast, where we highlight folks that are blazing the trail and making moves in Howard culture. Welcome to the HU Move Maker podcast, where we highlight folks that have contributed to the legacy of Howard University at the highest levels. Today we have a special guest. I don't know if I've ever met another person like this. And this woman, this specimen, this black girl magic from Shreveport, Louisiana, is a published author, a radio personality. She graduated the Howard University College of Medicine. It gets deeper. It gets deeper, y'all. Sexuality counselor. We're going to get into that. Anesthesiologist, board certified. I don't know if it's board certified sex counselor and anesthesiologist, but man, Dr. KaNisha L. Hall. Now, she's also an active board member for the Howard University Medical Alumni Association. Mm-hmm. So you know she's doing the damn thing. That means she's respected in her profession. They don't get that to just anybody. They don't do that to just anybody. Right now, she's in H-Town. And we were talking before this, and sometimes I struggle on where to start with these interviews. And I know right off bat, I want the sexuality counselor piece is where we need to start, because man, could anybody imagine being married to a sexuality counselor? That means she's judging you. She's judging you.
No, that's not what I do.
But I'm gonna let her get into it. What is a sexuality counselor? What is that?
So a sexuality counselor, I am a physician, I'm a medical doctor, but as a sexuality counselor, I work with my clients who are having some dysfunction and are not completely satisfied with their sex life, and I promote sexual health.
They're not completely sad. So are these people like they can't get, like they have like erectile dysfunction?
That's one form of sexual function, but
like they have a low libido.
Exactly. That's my most two common complaints from women are low libido, low sex drive, as well as discomfort. They don't necessarily feel comfortable when they're having intercourse.
And are these people like mostly heterosexual, homosexual, everybody? Like,
I have a very diverse client.
Would you say that who's more frustrated with their sex life? The homosexuals, heterosexuals, or the bisexual? I would imagine bisexuals just they're probably heavy.
My demographic for probably the most frustrated are surprisingly late 20s, early 30s.
Wow. And are these folks that are frustrated, are they in committed relationships?
Some are and some are not, but people don't understand that there's so many other things that put stressors on your sexuality and your sex life. People imagine themselves they want to be at a certain point in their lives, career-wise, professionally, health-wise. I think that group, that demographic, especially of women, and also men too, are the most critical of themselves. They begin to really question, did they make the right career choices? Did they choose the right partner? Why are they still single, and why are they not satisfied? I think they're the most, like once you get into your 40s, especially your 50s, and by the way, I will say, I shouldn't have favorites, but I do. My favorite clients are like my postmenopausal women. They're so uninhibited, and they just want to get their groove. They want to get their groove on, groove back, groove up, groove down. I love them. But the most frustrated are late 20s, early 30s, because they're confrontational about where they mentally pictured themselves at that particular point in life and the reality of where they are.
So you're essentially telling these women that are in effect older than you, you're diagnosing them on what they can, on how to fix their, basically you're like, is it Marvin Gaye who says sexual healing? Was that him?
Well, I mean, there have been several very large studies that have proven that people with regular sexual activity on average live more than 7 years longer. And regular sexual activity prevents cancer, heart disease, and generally allows you to live in better health.
So you're saying that like sleeping around, it does have some positive effects.
No. I didn't say a word about sleeping around.
But well, sleeping around responsibly, having a lot of sex, it could that is a positive side effect, I guess.
Yes, but you don't even have to have sex with a partner. Masturbation is a form of sexual activity, especially if it leads to climax.
But isn't that like a sin?
What is a sin?
Masturbation, a form of whatever it's called. No?
I didn't read that in my Bible. I did not.
Do you ever run across that? Like somebody for like a religious reason may be like, yo, that's wrong. I can't do that.
Yeah, I mean, I have spoken to several religious leaders, including pastors, about self-exploration, masturbation, self-care. And still to this day, I haven't had a definitive rebuke of it being a sin.
Meaning you're not convinced.
No, it's not like
we need to have.
I mean, the Bible says it's better. I mean, you're talking to a minister of music as well. That wasn't included in the resume, but it was there. I was a minister of music at the age of 12. So the Bible says it's better to marry than to burn. It doesn't say that lust does not exist. And masturbation is not the equivalent to lust as a sin. Sex is not new, or is it not prescribed in the Bible? If anyone questions that, I dare them to read the Book of Solomon, which is one of the most titillating books I've ever read in my life. So that being said, I mean, there's nothing new that's underneath the sun. But masturbation can actually be a tool to deter lust in another.
That seems like a lot of responsibility as a doctor. Sexuality counselor, man, like you're telling these folks, you're telling them, I don't know.
I don't tell anyone anything. I just lead them on. Okay, so I'm just a tour guide.
Okay.
I'm just a tour guide. I just lead them on their journey to discover what it is that they need from themselves, what it is that they need from their partners.
So are these consultations where both parties are coming to you?
No, most of the people that I counsel is just one-on-one, because it begins with self. And this is the analogy that I use. Wherever you live, if I were to ask you for directions somewhere, how to get to the grocery store closest to your house, you can tell me because you've been there. You've been there probably several different ways. You stop by the grocery store on your way home from work or from somewhere else to get home. You know how to get to that destination. Before anyone is engaging another partner for sexual fulfillment, you need to know how to fulfill yourself. How can I lead you on the path of sexual bliss or my satisfaction, your satisfaction, if I've never traveled that road myself? That's what self-exploration, that's what masturbation is for. You need to know your body.
Showing them how to like properly masturbate or how to properly have sex, like is that something that you have to actually show them how to do?
As far as like hands-on demonstrations.
Well, not hands-on demonstrations, but
actually, yes, there have been some ladies where I have to be a diagram and explain to them their anatomy, because it's always shocking to me that a lot of women don't know the difference between their vulva and their vagina. So your vagina is your internal canal. The lips that you see on the outer surface of a woman's private parts, that's your vulva, commonly known as lips.
So why do we need to know that? Well, why do they need to know that difference? And why should a man know the difference?
What do you mean? Why should he know the difference? He needs, if I'm instructing him, like,
I mean, when you say like people don't know the difference, what do you mean? They don't know the different sensation that it causes, or
they don't know what it's called. They don't know what it is. They don't know. There are some women who've never even seen their clitoris before. They've never, like, it's different for men, and you don't necessarily understand because your penis is on the outside. The organ that gives us great pleasure and stimulation is on the inside.
So what about the thought that women have to connect with a man emotionally sometimes? You know, I mean, does that come into play at all?
Well, the hard have to, must, I don't know. I don't believe in that. There are some women with sexual prowess who are very much so physically ignited by a partner. That has nothing to do with emotional attachments. People or society would have you believe that females are more emotionally attached and more emotional beings.
Is that false?
That's simply not true. No.
Really? I don't agree with that based off my experience. But
because it's a double standard. Like, literally, just like, oh, men don't cry. Men and women are made up of a composite of neurochemical monitors. This is basic biology and physiology that are very, very simple. Yes, we have different genetic makeup and different hormone imbalance as far as estrogen versus testosterone and all of those conversations. But when it comes down to the actual neurochemical modulators that, cause and affect response to emotion, happy, sad, there's no difference between men and women. It's just that we have been socialized to believe that women are supposed to be more nurturing.
So then why but here's the thing though, like a woman can go her whole life without having an orgasm, right?
Yes.
A man, like a man gets a erection way.
Again, but that's due to socializing, because we are not told as women that sex is for us. As historically and as
so you're
society,
saying that has nothing to do with science? It's all social.
I'm not saying it has absolutely nothing to do with science. It has something to do with biology. I just gave you a perfect example. You can see your penis. You know, if you see it and you touch it, you rub it, you know what happens. There's a little bit more that's involved with a woman finding her G-spot because it's internal. And it's most often not explored.
So, but when the man finally finds that G-spot, I
hope she doesn't wait. I would hope that a woman would not wait for a man to find her G-spot. I hope she goes and find it herself. So when she finds it, I hope she holds on to it for dear life. Okay.
Welcome to the Go Fish Village podcast. As a Chinese proverb says, give a man a fish and you feed him for a day. Teach a man to fish and you feed him for a lifetime. At Go Fish, our goal is to teach individuals just like you how to build wealth through real estate. So you from Shreveport, Louisiana?
Yes, I am from Shreveport, Louisiana. Okay. Port City, Ratchet City, all that. Hey, baby.
Shreveport, Louisiana.
Yes.
How does a girl from Shreveport, black girl, end up where you are? Take me back to Shreveport.
Okay.
What's the demographic? Who you hanging out with? What are your parents like? What school are you? What kind of student? What are your experiences? All of those questions.
So I'm from Shreveport, Louisiana. I'm a southern little country girl, despite sitting here talking about sex, raised in the church, raised by two wonderful parents, best parents this side of, well, one on this side of heaven, one in heaven. My dad was a property manager. He owned rental properties and he sold large kitchen appliances for Sears Roebuck and Company. My mom has more than 35 years of experience in consumer banking, retired from JP Morgan Chase. But neither of them, college educated, told their children that they could do and be anything. I have an older brother. He's 4 years older than me. He has his master's in business administration, as well as informatics and computer information systems. Myself, multiple degrees. Like literally, I bought into this dream my parents sold me that I could be and do anything. I bought into it. They told me it. I believed it. My parents wouldn't lie to me. I believed it.
So where did you go to college? Where'd you go?
I went to undergrad at Louisiana Tech University, about 45 minutes away from Shreveport in Ruston, Louisiana. Well-known alumni would be Carl Malone and his daughter, who's actually a good friend of mine, Cheryl Ford. They were known for basketball, women's basketball, not men's basketball.
There's not a lot of good stuff in the news about Carl Malone.
I don't.
He might want to seek your counsel. He may want to seek your counsel, but since that's your homegirl, I'm not gonna go there. That's your homegirl.
So I went to Tech during around the same time as his daughter, Cheryl Ford. But went to Louisiana Tech, and shout out to her because she actually did something her dad could never do, because she got a championship ring her first year in the league playing for Detroit.
When you were growing up in Shreveport, was it always a goal to be a doctor?
No.
Okay.
It wasn't until after undergrad that I was actually in a graduate program when I decided I wanted to go to medical school. So no, growing up, I always wanted to be a scientist. I would watch Young and the Restless with my grandmother. Everybody watched. Y'all know Victor Newman. So they had the cosmetic company, Jabot Cosmetic on Young and the Restless. I wanted to be like Ashley Abbott. I wanted to create cosmetics and beauticeuticals for women of color. So that's why I majored in chemistry. I wanted to be in analytical chemistry. I wanted to put things together that were specifically designed for women of color. That was my original career path. I graduated from undergrad in 3 years.
Damn. Come on, Dr. KaNisha. Come on. So you were always a scholar, I take it.
I was always a nerd. I really was. I'm not even gonna lie. Like literally, I was always
a nerd. So are you in high school? Is it a black high school? Is it mixed?
No,
what's going on here?
My first experience at a predominantly black school was Howard University. Prior to that, I've been at nothing but PWIs.
Man.
There were only 9 black males in my graduating class of 352 students.
You would have loved Howard undergrad.
And you know what? I have this conversation because I have a lot of friends who both went to undergrad for Howard and graduate school for Howard. I am not for certain that I would have become Dr. KaNisha Hall had I gone to undergrad at Howard.
Maybe not.
But no, not to say that I wouldn't have graduated, but I think I might have taken like one of Dr. Carr's class, and I might be like a complete change agent, or I don't know, a political activist or something. I might have been completely engulfed by the moment and derailed from medicine.
Yeah, I mean, it's totally possible. You definitely probably would have taken a different path. Everything happens for a reason.
Yeah.
But I just say you would have really enjoyed it.
I tell people all the time, there's absolutely no regret at all. I would not be the woman I am today if it were for not just the education, but the experience of going to Howard University College of Medicine. No doubt in my mind.
At what point does the light bulb come on that, hey, I want to be a doctor?
I'm in Japan.
Okay.
On a research fellowship, working with Dr. Kuramoto at Kitasato University in Sagamihara, Japan. And we are doing research in HPV, cervical cancer, and endometrial cancer.
What are you doing? Like, who are you working for?
So I was in graduate school at Thomas Jefferson University in Philadelphia. I hated Philadelphia. I wanted to get out, but I couldn't get out of school. So I applied for a fellowship to go to Japan to study cytopathology.
What is that?
So cytopathology is the study of cells. And the quickest, you know how women every year they go to get pap smears where they take the cells from their vagina to see if they have cancer. I cannot. Okay, so you take biopsy, you take tissue, and you want to see if there's cancer in the tissue. That's cytopathology.
Yes. Oh, yes, cytopathology. How did I forget? Yeah, cytopathology. So keep going. So you wanted to study pap smears?
Yes, pap smears and endometrial samplings from the uterus.
It's safe to say that you're different.
Yes,
you're different, and not in a bad way, but you're different. You know what I'm saying? Because
I'm unique.
Yeah, unique, and you're gifted, obviously. You know,
So I went over there. I'm a chemist, a biology major, but I'm behind the scenes. I'm in the lab. But the person leading my research, he's an OBGYN in Japan. And I got to see that doctor-patient interaction, and I was hooked. I was tired of being locked in the laboratory with rats. I needed to get out of the lab. And he was the one who actually made the suggestion to me, like, you should go to medical school.
Wow. Now, are you fluent in Japanese?
I am not fluent. I wish I had done more to maintain the bit I had learned, but no, I'm not fluent in Japanese.
Man, so somebody put that bug in your ear. So they obviously must have been impressed by your work ethic to make that type of suggestion. You know, especially in the era where you said it yourself, it's not black. You don't walk into these hospitals and see black women. You know, probably don't even see black people, period, as anesthesiologists. That would be my assumption.
We are a bit few and far between.
Probably the more the specialties that are involved, you probably see less and less black folks. Okay.
Yeah. Honestly, you do.
So you obviously got a gift for this, because for somebody to say that, you know, it's one thing to say that to a 6-year-old, like, you can be anything you want to be, you know. They're saying this to you as you're an adult.
And in the moment he said it to me, it's because I was actually there comforting a young lady who was about to have a procedure for the first time. And there was a language barrier, but she came in, very uneasy. And I made it my goal, not that I knew anything about being a doctor, but I just made it my goal. As soon as I saw this teenager, I was like, I'm gonna make her laugh. Before all is said and done, before she has a procedure, she's going to laugh. And he saw me.
So is there a language barrier?
There was a language barrier, but YouTube is universal. Mm-hmm. I just showed her like a funny little cartoon, and she was laughing. And
so
that was my goal, just to make her laugh.
Mm-hmm. But what were your other options other than Howard?
I had been at that point in time, I had been accepted. I had been waitlisted for my home school, LSU in New Orleans. They had waitlisted me. I've been accepted to Wayne State in Detroit. I have been accepted to UPenn, which is actually Ivy League. My interview for Meharry was after Howard. I didn't even go. I didn't go.
That's my boy went, who I was telling you before, the dentist. He went to Meharry.
I mean, nothing against Meharry. But once I stepped on the campus at Howard, that was a wrap.
I'm sure it was different. It is like, soon as you riding up like 7th Avenue and then it goes to Georgia, it's like that energy just hits you like, oof. Like, man, this is a mecca.
Yeah, I had just come back from Japan. I still had an apartment in Philly. I spent the night in Philly, like literally drove down to DC, had caught up with a couple of other people that were from Louisiana. And I got there really early, and I'm walking the halls, and they have all of these pictures, like going all the way back to like class of 1950 or so. Class of 83. Very last student on the wall is my cousin, Larry Young.
Man, shout out to Larry.
And his son, Omari Young, is the class of 2013. So all of our reunion years fall together. He's class of 83, I'm class of 2008, and his son is class of 2013. So my fifth year was his dad's like 25th year. Like, so all of our reunion classes are together.
Nice, man. So it was written.
Yeah.
At that point. Exactly. So you said, I'm gonna be a bison.
Mm-hmm.
I'm at the Mecca.
Yeah.
This is what it is. I mean, so you get to Howard. What is it like, coming from PWIs and then coming into a system like Howard? I hear horror stories.
I mean,
in terms of organization, okay. I hear dreams in terms of the experience.
Okay, so let me say this. So Louisiana Tech and Grambling State University are only they're separated by less than 5 miles. So though my academic career was completed from Louisiana Tech, my social life went to Grambling State University. So it wasn't completely like foreign to me about everything they say about the organization of HBCUs. However, I really didn't have any problems. I was interviewed by Dr. Leslie Sif-Jones. She is a Black ophthalmologist with like further specializing in retina repair. She's insane in the world of medicine. She's definitely the GOAT. She's the MVP when it comes to Black female ophthalmologists. She interviews me. In the interview, she tells me, she's like, I'm gonna see you again. Like, she was part of that ceiling moment. Like, I just felt like I needed to be there. My very first day on campus, first day of medical school, they tell us we're going to have advisors. They give you an upperclassman advisor. That's a medical student that's like a third or fourth year. Shout out to Daryl Gray, who always held me down. They give you a PhD advisor to tutor you if you're having any problems with the information. And you get a advisor that is a real doctor to encourage you and also to pour into you. My advisor was the same, Dr. Leslie.
That's good you said that, because a lot of doctors I talked to, they were saying a lot of Black folks drop out of med school because they don't have that support.
Exactly. And like at that time, I knew 2 other people who were matriculating at PWIs for medical school who did not have this experience. So I immediately knew that I was blessed. But when I tell you, after our first meeting in the lecture room, I look up, because the lecture room has a decline to it. I look up the stairs of our lecture hall, and who is waiting on me is Dr. Leslie Sif-Jones. She said, I told you I'd see you again.
Damn, that's crazy.
Gave me her cell phone number, her email address. She said, you have no excuse. If you need anything, you call me. But even before you need anything, I'm going to give you a month to get adjusted, and you better be in my office.
Damn.
So
welcome
it was
to Howard. Welcome to Howard.
I was like, oh, and so I go back home. I'm talking to 2 other people I know who are matriculating through medical school at the same time, again at PWIs. They're scared. They're overwhelmed. They don't know exactly where they're going, what they're doing, how they're going to do it. And neither did I, but I knew that along this journey, I had 3 advisors. I had a classroom full of other students that we made the decision. Like, I had formed my study group by this point, like no child left behind. I knew I had a support system to do one of the hardest things I would ever do in my life.
Did going to Howard, did that hinder your success at all, do you think?
No, like, it has greatly enhanced my career. To have it to do all over again and knowing what I know now, of course, I wish that I had gone to an HBCU. And I give my child, I have a 5-year-old daughter, and I say I'm going to give her free range, but
so
are you Spelman.
Are you married?
No, I'm not married.
So we're going to get into that. We're going to get into that. Okay. So you were at Howard. You were at Howard. At what point when you get there, do you decide that you're going to be a anesthesiologist, or you pick a specialty? When do you decide your specialty?
It's different for everyone. I probably full force made up my mind midway through my third year. I had been so the first 2 years of medical school, you're really predominantly in the classroom, like learning the anatomy, the physiology, all the things the book learning of medicine. Third and fourth year of medical school, you're in clinical rotations where you're actually going through the different specialties, pediatric, family medicine, surgery. You get to see medicine practice.
Was it challenging?
It was a lot more requirements on your time, but I really felt like it was the best way to learn, because now you have patience.
I'm asking, was Howard challenging for you? Like, do you feel like I don't know, do you feel like when you got to an HBCU, did you feel like you were challenged? Did you feel like it was a little bit easier? Because again, you got friends that are at these PWIs.
So I will say, not until I left Howard did I realize how well prepared I was by Howard. So when I left Howard and I went to do my residency back at LSU, I realized I was better prepared than other medical students from other schools. So as an anesthesiologist, it is my job to put people to sleep for surgery. We do pain procedures to relieve pain that people are having. I also work with OBGYNs. We're the doctors that put in epidurals when women are having babies and hurting from those contractions. Everybody loves their anesthesiologist. Got the good stuff.
So where is the cross between anesthesiologist and sexual counselor?
So it's not necessarily a cross, but it's my passions in life. I like to help people feel good. Anesthesiologist, the practice of anesthesia is the relieving of pain. I like to help people feel good. Sexuality counselor is that, like I said, I'm the tour guide on the journey to sexual fulfillment and enlightenment. I like to help people feel good. So all of that still falls under the same umbrella. I like to help people feel good.
But isn't that the role of a doctor, period?
That's the role of a clinician. Is not necessarily to help people feel good. It's to guide them to good health. Good health doesn't always feel good.
So anesthesiologist, that's a ton of responsibility, though.
I agree.
Like, because you have to kind of measure, like, I guess based on your scientific principles, how much of whatever you got to inject in somebody.
It's not even just injecting; it's ongoing. It's an orchestra. I conduct an orchestra. There are medicines going through the IV. There are gases being inhaled by my anesthesia machine. I might have done a nerve block or pain procedure before. Look at this. It's an orchestra.
Man, that is a level of intelligence and brilliance.
I have to DJ the OR room at the same time too. I got to pick the music, make sure it's right. It's an orchestra. This is what I do all day long.
Wow. So, okay. So you become an anesthesiologist and sexual counselor. Is that something that you have to get a certification in, or you got to take board for that too?
So I was actually in my master's program for counseling. Shout out to University of Michigan. And I developed a particular interest while matriculating in counseling.
So you got a master's from Michigan?
Yes.
Okay.
So I did my sexual cohort studies at Michigan for sexuality. My MA master's is actually from Charter University.
Got you.
So okay. While I am matriculating for my counseling degree, I also am in a cohort for human sexuality.
Is this before med
This
school?
is after medical school. This is after medical school.
Wow.
I know.
Okay. So
yeah, I'm a lifelong
student. While you're at med school,
yeah,
before you graduate and you become full-fledged Dr. KaNisha, you know, anesthesiologist and sexual counselor and radio personality and board certified and published and all of that. Before all of that, are you are you just on this trajectory upward? Like, are there any bumps in the road? Are there any moments in time where you, I don't know, wanted to give up or things became too much?
My dad passed away the March before I graduated in May. Completely unexpected. He had a hemorrhagic stroke.
My condolences.
Thank you, but it was a needed bump in the road. It was something that, again, had to happen in order for me to now become who I am. So I would say I was, but I still am the ultimate daddy's. Take the wheel,
so
Jesus.
you're a daddy's girl.
I am.
Your father passes, and I guess it's kind of lights a fire under you. It puts you in a...
Well, no, at first it did not light a fire under me. It was a abrupt pause where this is the first time in my life I lose someone I thought I could not live without. And this is, like I said, this is the March before I am finishing medical school in May. And this is also the same time I'm finding out where I will be going for residency to do my anesthesiology training. And I had interviewed literally all over this country. But that prior holiday season during December, my dad had asked me to come back home to Shreveport, Louisiana. He was like, just go see what they have going on at LSU. They've made a lot of changes over there. Just check it out. So I did. I interviewed for their anesthesiology program. But you have to create like a rank list. It's almost like the draft. And I didn't necessarily want to rank them high because I was in DC living my best life or whatnot. But I did. I ranked them fairly high because of my dad's recommendation. And this was back in, like I said, December, January. He passes away in March, and I find out I will be returning back home to good old Shreveport, Louisiana for residency.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like a reverse culture shock because I had been given I had the taste of DC and Howard. Like, it was hard for me to make that adjustment and go back to small town America. But I did want to be closer. I did want to be back closer to my mom because once you lose one parent, you cling to the other.
Man, so. It's tough. So how did you bounce back? How did you get out of that? You said you felt like you couldn't live without her.
That's what actually ignited my passion for counseling, because I had to go through grief counseling to kind of pull myself out of this lull and realize like this, my dad would have wanted greater for me.
So you went to counseling. So I'm going to ask you this. Are you a religious person?
I am. Well, no, I'm not religious. I'm spiritual.
So when you say counseling, was that like a counselor at church, or was this like a professional in terms of they went to school for it?
Yeah, it was a licensed clinical social worker counselor.
So being a doctor and having also, and you said you're active in church, right? You're the music person, what is it called?
Minister of music.
Minister of music. Are there ever conflicts that arise when people, and this not necessarily in your direct profession, but I know like, and we getting off topic, but like marriage counseling.
Mm-hmm.
would you recommend that someone go to see their pastor, or they go see like a clinician, I guess, for lack of better words?
I believe that people should see whoever gives them the greatest deal of comfort.
But you
Not that
gotta pick one. You gotta pick one. You don't really know. You want
but
to get
I
the
mean,
best advice possible.
there's not a blanketed answer as far as I am not comfortable saying that a licensed clinical counselor is more qualified than a church counselor. I'm not comfortable saying that, but this is what I say.
Mm-hmm.
Being a physician and having studied anatomy and science, people ask me all the time, doesn't that conflict my religious beliefs? And I say no, because no matter what I may have read or studied, my governing authority is my spirituality. I had the support of my friends that became like family. And that's one of the advantages of going to Howard University. There was never a time where I couldn't pick up the phone and call someone. Like, I know my friends that went to PWIs, they didn't have the cell phone numbers of their attendings and their supervising doctors. There was never a time where I couldn't pick up the phone and call
That's
someone.
crazy. But your residency was at LSU.
Yes.
Was it a lot different from Howard?
Yes. Because I didn't have that. That's what I'm saying. Like, I was still pulling on my Howard resources to propel me through my residency. Because I'm back in the middle of white America.
Damn.
So I'm still, as far as mentorship, I was still relying on my Howard family for guidance as far as career guidance and guiding me through, this tough situation. Because I'm back in the dirty South of Louisiana where, Black anesthesiologists, period, are few and far between. Like, that year that I was in residency, that was the most minority residents they had in anesthesiology history.
Man.
Because there were 2 African-American females in my class.
2 out of
12 residents, 2 fellows. So being in those circumstances, like, I honestly don't know how successful I could have been had I not had like people like David Holliday, who was one of my mentors from anesthesia, people like Leslie Stiff Jones, who interviewed me, mentored me through school, still to this day, like, was one of the first people I wanted to reach out to when I was writing my book and becoming a first-time mother, because she's done it before. She's a doctor and a mother too. So having those resources really are what propelled me forward in my career.
What it takes to get to the level that you're at, because a lot of times people see that finished product and that's all they see, and they don't see everything it took to get there.
It really is. That's like one of my pet peeves, when people try to tell younger folks that going to a HBCU will put you at a disadvantage networking, or put you at a disadvantage in what you're trying to do. Because you've said it before, like, and I'm pretty sure you've heard it before, like, the entire world is not a HBCU. You won't be well prepared to, be successful in white America if you went to HBCU. Lies, and more lies. Because even though I went to medical school at Howard, at that same time, I know people from the dental school, from the law school, from communications, and not even from when I went there. There have been so many times I've literally stopped because I have Howard tags on my vehicle, and it sparks up a conversation. Whenever I travel, back when outside was open, I'm always in the airport with some kind of Howard shirt on, and I have met some of the most amazing people and been able to network. Like, I didn't know anything about radio until a year and a half ago. And I can call people like DJ Riley out in Atlanta. I can call people like, hey, I can call people because I need to interview them and be a guest on my show, and literally nothing more than a Howard connection. So don't let anyone tell you that HBCU puts you at a disadvantage, because Howard University has Howard University Hospital that literally trained me to see there's nothing that will come across my operating room that I haven't seen before, because I was trained by some of the best.
Is there something that happened in your sexual past that made you want to do this?
No, not me, my mom. So when I moved back to Shreveport, after my dad passes away, I get to know my mom as a woman, not just mom. And come to find out, my dad was the only man she had ever been with. She literally left her mother's house.
Is that a blessing or no?
What?
To have one sexual partner in life?
I think she would say it is. I think she would say it is.
But you as a doctor, as the expert?
As the expert, I think everybody's path is their path. I am thankful for all of my past experiences, because I'm a summation of all of my past experience. I learned there are no losses, only lessons.
But one sexual partner, that is.
But I don't consider. She had one sexual partner and had a life partner till death do them part. There was no divorce.
Yeah.
And it wasn't.
Yeah. So you said she had one partner for life, and yeah. I mean that is a huge that is a huge upside. Do you recommend that people wait till they're married to have sex?
I do not make those recommendations, but not that I don't support them. I recommend that people do what's best for them. There are people that feel that it is spiritually connecting to wait until marriage. They feel like that is the right thing to do, and I am not here in any way to tell them that that is wrong.
So, but you don't recommend it?
I didn't say that. I mean, how can I not recommend it when it has worked? I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for that. Like, it worked for my parents.
Okay. Well, so, we live in a different time. You said socially.
But I mean, we have other people that profess to have waited until marriage and it worked for them. Like, I don't make decisions for my clients or my patients. That's not my job. I don't make decisions for them. My job is to lead them to their own inner path. And it's not me, it was my mom.
Right, it was not you, it was your mom. But, I asked that because obviously you're passionate about this, but you're writing this book, while you're in this program. I mean, what makes you so qualified to write a book about sex after? A Woman's Guide to Empowered and Enhanced Sexual Experiences in the Evolution of Life. Like, I would, if I had to guess who would be qualified to write a book like that, and if I was to say, like, man, these are the things this person needs to have experienced and learned, it would be like sex with X amount of people, maybe sex started at a young age. It would be things like that. And you're saying that none of those things apply to you in terms of, there was never any negative thing in your sexual life that happened to say, man, I need to write a book because now my sexual past is matching up with what I'm learning in the classroom.
And I absolutely did not say that. You asked me, was there some sexual history? And I assumed you meant more so trauma. But
no. It sounds like what you're trying to do is help people. You're trying to help people, right?
Exactly, but not even that. Like, I personally did not start out as the inspiration for this book. The inspiration was my mother, but the book contains a lot of my personal experience. When I was answering that question, I was only answering it from a point of inspiration. I was inspired to write the book about a summation of my experiences, her experiences, but the inspiration came from her.
So it's like your mom's experience. Your mom is the inspiration, and your experiences is it other folks' experiences too?
So when my dad passes away, I'm getting to know my mom all over again. We would have like these adult, somewhat slumber parties. It would be my friends. At this time, I'm like mid-20s. I was like 25, 26.
How old is your mom at this time?
My mom had just turned 50.
So she's relatively young. How old was your dad when he passed?
55.
Okay.
So we're having this meeting of the minds with her friends that are going through divorces, losing their spouse, surviving breast cancer, going through what women of that age going through. You have my friends who are getting married for the first time, having kids for the first time, can't find a man if they wanted to. Like, you have all of these women, about half a dozen women.
You said your friends can't find a man if they want to.
Like, seriously, but no, I'm telling you, all of us are in different stages of life, just trying to figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
Just trying to figure it out. And a commonality of being a woman is acknowledging, like I said, that you have needs. Like, yeah, we got to take care of the house. We got to take care of the kids. We have our obligations to the community. We have people on our job that need our help. We have all of these other obligations we put before self. But what permission slip did someone need to write to give us permission as women to pause? I got needs, and they need to be addressed. So that was kind of the motivating. It's a summation of all these experiences I'm just talking about, and it is that permission slip for women to put themselves first and acknowledge that they have needs that need to be met.
So it's a lot of empowerment, basically.
Yes.
What this book is. Okay. Now, do people come to you who've been traumatized sexually? Is this book for them too?
Yes, there's an entire chapter about trauma as well, and I have had my own I wouldn't say suppressed trauma. I think I've experienced what a lot of women have experienced as far as feeling somewhat taken advantage of and also feeling betrayed. So I address those things. I also have a excellent trauma counselor that I refer people to that need that added help as well. Because unfortunately, sometimes when I'm interacting with my clientele, you will uncover suppressed or forgotten trauma.
You graduate from LSU.
Yeah.
You take your boards. You pass on the first time?
I actually did not. I passed on the second time. So first time, I'm taking my boards. I'm pregnant. I have pregnancy brain. I am nauseous. I am everything they tell you pregnancy is. So needless to say, and there are two parts to anesthesiology boards. The first one is a written exam, which is the one I had to take twice. The second one is an oral exam. I passed that one the first time.
Can good sex cause someone not to think rationally?
I think good sex can cause some lapse in judgment and make people deter from normal behavior. I'll say that.
I agree with that. And you know, is there any scientific thing that says like after an orgasm is when someone thinks clear? Like immediately following that situation?
I don't know about immediately following the situation. There's a great deal of blood loss from the brain to fuel your sexual organs for intercourse. That might not be the best time to make critical decisions. However, the regular release of hormones after orgasm are thought to provoke clarity and and thought process, but I don't know about in the immediate.
Well, maybe not immediate, but moments after. I just bring that up because I think that's when men have a lot of clarity about the women that they've had sex with. Right after that, they had that orgasm.
I'm not a man. I would allow you to be the expert on that. So you believe that you have better moments of clarity about your partner after intercourse.
Yeah. Okay.
Who am I to dispute that?
And not my part. I mean, like, like if you really into somebody or you're not, that if you're not into somebody after that moment, you're like, oh man, what did I just do? You having those type of thoughts. But anyway, enough about.
But in general, I feel like I hate generalizations. I don't want to say, but I feel like sometimes as women, we will excuse bad behavior from our partner when the sex is good.
I agree with that. I think women are more sexually deprived than men. Period.
And why is that?
Well, I think, like you said earlier, a man is forced to be more in tune with their sexuality because they do have a penis. Mm-hmm. So you have, it's right there. You know what I mean? So
you can't ignore it.
Right, you can't ignore it. And and as a result, I also think it's a lot easier for a man to reach an orgasm than it is for a woman, at least in an untrained sense. Now, maybe if they both equally understand their bodies, maybe it's equal. But in terms of if you take an untrained man and an untrained woman, I think it's going to be easier for that man to climax just because, it is. I mean,
Well, I mean, like you said, they have a penis. It's right there for them to see. You touch it, you stroke it, something's bound to happen. Whereas for us, things being more internal, it requires a bit more of an effort to seek and find that magical spot.
So kudos to you with all your success. So you're very accomplished, and I'm sure you have a brand in that space. Mm-hmm. As an anesthesiologist, as a sexual counselor, you're doing some amazing work. What are, walk me through I don't know if we say a day in the life or a week in the life of some of the things that you have going on right now.
Okay, so of course everything is not probably as it should be due to we're in a pandemic, but every morning I wake up and I try to practice a little self-care, my meditation, our prayer life, pour something. The first 30 minutes of my day is me pouring something needed into me. Whether it's prayer, meditation, or working out, or something that I need to make me better. After that, I have a morning, every weekday morning, 9 a.m. to 9:30 Eastern Time. I'm on the Bridge Morning Show with Hip Hop Joint Rap Radio, #1 streaming radio station out of Atlanta.
Nice.
I am their healthcare correspondent. So that's been keeping me busy because I usually do the pandemic update on the radio. After that, I have either clinical practice where I'm going to the hospital, or I am in telehealth where I'm seeing patients who suffer with addiction, eating disorders, or other ailments via telemedicine. And somewhere in between all of that, I'm so glad it's over with. I was also homeschooling a 5-year-old. That's what
she's back in school?
No, she's out of school. We just finished our last week of homeschool.
Do you get a lot of sexual offers?
Yes, for some reason, people believe because I write about sex, I talk about sex, and I'm a sexuality counselor, I must have like a sex swing in my house. I think they think I'm Candy Burris or something. They think I'm swinging from the chandeliers, just like having all of this wild Tiger Queen sex going on around here. And that's really not the case.
I would imagine that, you would get some offers or get hit on a lot just from people that, man, sex with her gotta be,
Well, honestly,
crazy.
I think it's the reverse effect. I think some of them see it as intimidating, or they probably think like I'm like this ultimate feminist, because a lot of the things that I talk about in the book I write is designed for women, and so they probably think I'm this ultimate, feminist, and I hate men. Like I when I first published my book, and I know men that have read my book and given me awesome feedback, but I would get like a lot of hate mail. Actually, like I was trying to tell or preach to women that they didn't need men, and that wasn't necessarily the case. I just wanted them to own their sexuality and feel comfortable masturbating. That doesn't mean that you don't need a man, but you also need to feel comfortable exploring your own, identity and your own anatomy. But I got a lot of hate.
Is that a lot what's in your book about? Is it about masturbating?
It's about masturbation. It's about exploring. It's about, creating that wish list of things you'd like to do with yourself and with somebody else.
Whether you're, no matter what your sexuality?
No matter what your sexuality is, whether you're heterosexual, homosexual, trans, queer.
But for women though, right? It's for women.
I wrote it from the perspective of a woman, but again, I have had men who read my book and told me they got valuable lessons from it. But I wrote it from the perspective of a woman. I talk about like being pregnant. I talk about, juggling motherhood and career. Like I wrote it from my perspective, but I think anybody can read this book.
Do you find yourself giving, in the middle of sex, instruction to somebody like, hey?
No, it's not instruction. Okay. Listen.
I'm just saying, you personally, like, do you find yourself like, that's not the G spot?
Listen. And that's also a personality thing. Like, I never, ever, ever want to be accused of emasculating a man or my partner that I am with, because I love a strong Black man. I never want to emasculate him, but that goes back to my statement of feeling safe and feeling comfortable. I should feel comfortable to say, a little to the left, sweetie, just a little to the left. I should be able to say, I can't say that. As a man, would you feel uncomfortable with your wife saying, boo, just a half an inch to the left?
No, no, I wouldn't. Not my wife. Maybe the first sexual encounter, you know what I'm saying? But as you get comfortable with somebody, you to keep things fresh, you do have to add different elements,
Yeah. And also I've learned, and I also try to teach other women to manipulate their own anatomy to accommodate what they need. Like, I don't have to tell you anything if I shift my hips the way they needed to be shifted to get you where I want you to be. So, but there has to be a conversation. Like, I should be able to feel comfortable talking to my partner to say, I want to try something.
Yeah.
And I have to be comfortable with that answer being yes or no.
This is all healthy discussion. Why aren't these conversations more mainstream?
I don't know. That's my whole mission in life. I want them to be. I want this to be normal conversation, in relationships, and like even with I'll give you, this is personal. After I had my daughter, I lost my mojo. Like, my anatomy had changed from carrying her. I ended up having a C-section. I had a scar after my C-section. Like, I was going through a lot of physical and emotional things, and I lost my mojo. And when I say I lost my mojo, I usually have a very high sex drive, but I just didn't feel comfortable. And trying to reignite my sex life, it just didn't feel the same. Everything was different. Like, I had birthed another human being and everything was not as it should be.
When you say you lost your mojo, does that mean a desire to have sex with somebody else, but I'm still gonna masturbate? Or does that mean like I'm not just
all of it?
I don't need any type of sexual pleasure. I'm straight.
All of, like, I mean, this is, and it was, I didn't feel desires. I didn't feel as if I was desirable, and I wasn't having desires. Like, I wasn't feeling like my body was designed to have sex, if that makes sense.
Damn, no, that don't make sense.
So wait,
I understand what you're saying.
Exactly. So wait, this is how I'm feeling, and I'm like one of the last of my friends.
Can we talk about that?
I'm like one of the last of my friends to have kids. And I'm in this strange space because prior to having my daughter, you might even consider me hypersexual. I enjoyed sex. I like to have sex often, if not with my partner, self-exploration. Like, I was all about it. And then I have my child. I love being a mother. I love my child, but I felt like I had lost a piece of me. Like, I would look at myself in the mirror, and I just didn't feel like my body was designed for sex anymore. Like, I'm breastfeeding, I'm leaking milk. Like, I was just like, I just didn't feel like I was created for intercourse. And I did not feel as if I was desirable, nor did I have a desire to have sex.
Are you in a relationship at that point or no?
I was dating. I was not with my child's father, but I was dating.
Because I was going to ask, how do you express that to somebody?
I mean, I'm somewhat of a blunt person. Everything I just told you, I told him. And I was like, and I told him the problems that I was having. And I also told him I'm not okay with it. So if you're going to be along for the ride while I try to fix this, you're welcome. I don't know what the road ahead looks like, but I'm not okay with it. And I want to fix it. So that gave him some form of relief, and he was like, okay, tell me what I need to do to help fix this thing. I'm at lunch with my good girlfriends, and I explode. I'm like, look, y'all have had kids. Why didn't y'all tell me it would be like this? And they're like, oh, yeah, I went through the same thing. And we had never had this conversation. Like, they never bothered to tell me that this is something you go through as a woman after having a child. And I was so pissed. I was like, how could y'all not warn me that this is going to happen? And I'm like, more importantly, now what do I do to fix this? And I'm like, oh, child, I don't know. I'm like, one of my friends, her child is 6 years old and she's still in a funk. I'm like, why is this okay? Like, you can't tell me that this is okay for your relationship where
it sounds like you need to write another book.
Well, no, I was still writing. I wrote this book over the course of 7 years. I did not finish writing that book because, like you said, that had to be a part of the book. I didn't feel like this book would have been complete until after having a child. So it's in the book.
Okay.
So I was like, okay. So I challenged them to work with me to figure this thing out. We like Stella, and we're not going to Jamaica, but we got to get our groove back. How are we going to get our groove back? How are we going to rediscover something that's been lost? And Like our homework that night was literally to go home and self-explore until we found a spot that made it single. And I was like, do it alone, do it with your partner, do something, but we're going to report back.
Wow.
And I remember leaving.
This is
that.
deep.
So I left that dinner and I go back home, and luckily my mom was giving me a break. She had my daughter, and I just remember getting in the shower, and I had one of those removable massager shower heads, and I did acrobats in the shower that evening because I was determined to find something I had lost.
Yo, that's a lot.
But it was
that's a lot. I mean, you know, it just goes to show you that I think women are more complex than men. I mean, not that we're not complex, but but you know what? At the same time, people aren't talking about this, so how would I even know anyway?
Exactly. Because I didn't stay with my child's father after conceiving and having our child, but I do know that I've talked to other couples where not necessarily like our anatomy changes from carrying the child, but I even talk to men who feel uncomfortable with sexual intercourse while their lady is pregnant with the child. Like, that's weird to me. You're carrying my seed. I don't know if I want to navigate.
That's weird to me. I feel you. No, I mean, it is weird because it's like yo, you having sex. It's like the child is like right there. You know what I'm saying? It's like,
and then
but I could totally see why it could be a beautiful thing. You know what I'm saying? Like this is how tight we are. You know what I'm saying? But
yeah,
I also see the side where like that's
like it's somebody else in the room.
Yeah, you got a whole person in your belly right now. like let's chill out.
Have you ever been attracted to a person and wanting to have intercourse with a lady, and for some reason, like, your body would not cooperate?
Oh yeah. Yes. And it's weird, like, man, girl was fine, like all that. I'm like, finally. And then for whatever reason, nothing. But I've had the flip side where the woman is not so fine, but the chemistry is just like crazy, and it's like instant. I can't explain these things. You know what I mean?
But do you feel comfortable talking about, like, with that young lady? Like, what could you say? You like, look, I don't want you to feel like I don't want you. I don't want you to feel undesired. It's definitely a disconnect right now because my head is like all there, but
I mean, no. I mean, I'm not comfortable doing that.
So how did that situation play out?
I just said, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I don't know what, but you know, you got to understand, I'm probably 26 at the time, you know, and the hype of it coming into fruition, you know, just didn't happen. But it only happened with that one particular person. But we eventually end up but I remember the first like 3 times it was just like awkward. And I think it was pressure that we had both kind of I don't know.
But imagine how she feels like.
Yeah, she felt like shit.
And that's okay?
No, it's not okay. I'm just saying I felt stupid too.
But
I felt whack. I was like, damn, this ain't never happened. But what can you do other than
can I just tell you that does not make us feel better? When you're saying like, oh, this never happens, it immediately makes us feel like, oh, it must be me. But it's not.
Yeah.
But it's not the woman, and it's not you. It's a biological disconnect that actually is common. It doesn't mean
I mean,
anything is
as
wrong.
a more mature person, I could see how I could have handled that situation way better. I could have been like, man, let's try this. Let's turn on porn. Let's start massaging me. It was just damn, hey, I don't know what's up. Like it wasn't no let's find a solution. There was none of that, but I'm 38 now. You know what I'm saying? So 38, and I've been married 8 years, been with my wife 10 years. So now like, okay, let's go to plan A. All right, let's go to plan B. Let's go to plan C. Like you done been in them scenarios, but when you young and that happens, that's not supposed to happen, period. It ain't supposed to happen.
And that's why this is my passion, because imagine had you known that at 26. And the only way that you're going to know that is if these conversations are normalized and some 26-year-old is listening to this podcast to tell them this is not your fault. This is not her fault. This happens. It's a part of physiology. But what I need for you not to do is say, yo, my bad. I need for you to reassure her that this is not anything to do with you. I definitely want to, but maybe we need to try something different or revisit this at another time when I can get all of this together. That's what I want to change. I want to change the normal response.
Cool.
I want to create a new normal. I want to create a new normal where people talk about sex as part of their health, their mental health, their physical health. I want to create that new normal where this conversation is happening all across the world.
Man. So wouldn't that take away from the intimacy of sex if it was just such a, like, do you mean like you want people to feel comfortable if they're to having a casual conversation to the
No,
point?
I wanted to increase the intimacy because I want people that are involved in this ultimate intimate connection to feel comfortable having this conversation.
With their partner?
With their partner.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. We don't want no Me Too issues. You get to work tomorrow like, hey, man.
We're not on any Me Too issues, okay?
Yeah.
Time is up.
What advice do you give to people that without going through your array of questions to properly diagnose them, but what fundamental things do you, I guess, tidbits would you give to a couple that's struggling to have sex or reach that level of sexual enjoyment that they deserve?
The first thing that I always start with when I am with couples is not necessarily working on the sex, but working on the communication. Because sex is a form of communication. And a lot of times,
So what does that look like? Am I asking a question? Like, what's going on here?
A lot of times, the barriers to actual sex are barriers to intimacy, where someone has hurt feelings that aren't expressed, or someone's uncomfortable and it hasn't been expressed. So that's why we start with communication. What is it that you want out of this interaction? What is it that you need out of this interaction? And in your mind, what does good sex look like to you? Because you'll be surprised while people are married for decades and they've never explored what their definition of good sex is. What is good sex?
I like that. So basically, they need to come up with a definition, or they at the very least, each person needs to know what good sex is for the other person.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I mean, it's sad to be years or even months. Like, this is a conversation that needs to take place very early in the relationship.
Well, just from having this conversation, the people with the loudest voices about sex, entertainers, musicians, because the way sex is portrayed, that has a huge effect on probably why people don't have these conversations. I mean, I would.
Well, no, I agree with you. I feel like people assume they know what good sex is because they go along with, like you said, the loudest voice. Like, oh, that's what he said, so that's the way it should be.
Welcome to the Go Fish Village podcast. As a Chinese proverb says, give a man a fish and you feed him for a day. Teach a man to fish and you feed him for a lifetime. At Go Fish, our goal is to teach individuals just like you how to build wealth through real estate. Do you think people are born homosexual or born heterosexual, or are these learned behaviors, or can you be born one way and then become homosexual or heterosexual, or is that just a natural thing?
Okay, here we are. I believe that every person is born who they are. And I don't believe that people decide or choose to be a sexual orientation. No, I don't believe that. I believe they are born who they are. And I also believe that sexuality can be fluid. Not is fluid, but can be fluid. Do you need me to expound upon that? So by fluid, I mean that people's sexuality can change.
Like it's evolving?
Oh, yes, it can evolve over a lifetime. I do believe that.
So you think that somebody could legitimately be like, man, in my 20s, I like women, but in my 30s, men was actually better. And now that I'm in my 40s, I like women again.
I do. I do believe that I didn't say that sexuality has to be fluid. I do believe that it can be fluid.
What advice do you have to KaNisha Hall coming into womanhood? I guess would that be like 18-ish, 20-ish?
I tell people all the time, I came into womanhood on the campus of Howard University. I did.
Well, what advice would you give to anyone that's coming into womanhood or manhood right now who are having thoughts of curious thoughts, but you don't want them to go down the wrong path and maybe make a mistake?
Be selfish. Be selfish. And I say that for several reasons. One, I think a lot, especially younger people, in those pivotal moments are so influenced by media, social media, mainstream media, rappers, famous people. There's so many outside influences. Don't worry about that. Focus on yourself and who you have put on this earth to be. So my best advice is be selfish. Worry about you. Focus on you. And know that you were not just put on this earth. You have been ordained with everything inside of you that you need to be the best you that you can be.
What about advice? What advice do you have for someone that wants to be a doctor one day and has questions about which route to take and how to be somebody successful like yourself? Because I mean, you went to med school, residency, and you got a specialty, so I'm thinking this additional school that goes along with that. What advice do you have to someone that's of color, trying to choose a path and be better than you?
They're supposed to be better than me. Every generation should be better. They shouldn't. I always tell my mentors, I don't want you to be like me. I want you to be better than me. So the first thing you need to do is find a mentor. And don't tell me that it's too hard, because you have a greater advantage than I do, because you have social media. Search the hashtag Black Doctors. And there have been so many young people that slide into my DMs, and no, I can't mentor them all, but I try to give them some direction. There's a wonderful organization, SNMA, Student National Medical Association, that has an entire directory of physicians who are willing to mentor young people interested in medicine. There are so many resources out there, but connect yourself with who you are trying to be. Mentorship matters.
Advice for single mothers that are excelling in their career. Do you have to pick? Can you do both?
Yes, you can have it all. You can have it all. But it takes discipline. It takes time management. And I always suggest get yourself a tribe. I don't have a lot of friends, but my close tribe, my vault of people, I can't do it without them. Nobody does this alone. Nobody becomes great all by themselves. I haven't seen it. I've never seen that.
What's the legacy of Dr. KaNisha Hall 100 years from now? Are we seeing your picture in that hallway of Black doctors?
Yeah, it's up there. It's already up there.
It's already up there. Okay.
It is class of 2008, vice president, and I posted it to my social media. Vice president of grievances and parliamentarian for the class of 2008 at Howard University College of Medicine. Still active with the Howard University Alumni Association. Like, Howard will definitely be a part of my legacy. Everything I pour into my child will be a part of my legacy. But just like we began this conversation, I just want people to feel good. I want that to be a part of my legacy. I hope there will be a lot of people who have testimonies on how I tried my best to live my life and pour into other people and help them feel good.
How if somebody does want to get in touch with you, ask you questions, follow you, buy your book, how can they do that?
They can start on social media at Dr. KaNisha, DrKaNisha. My website, drkanisha.com. The book is available it's available on Amazon, but it's on sale on my website. Yeah, I'm easy to find.
So let's get into some Howard Jeopardy.
Oh yes, here we go.
See what you know about Howard University. What
But
year?
I went to the medical school, not undergrad. So okay.
Well, yeah, I don't know too many medical school questions.
Okay, but here we go. Give it to me. What we got?
What is the address of the medical school?
520 or 620 W Street. What is it? 520 or 620 W Street?
520.
520 W Street.
What is the zip code of Howard University?
Ooh. 2006?
No. 20059.
Really? I had no idea.
Who is the current president of Howard University?
Dr. Wayne Frederick.
Where is Dr. Frederick from?
Trinidad.
Finish this sentence. Reared against the eastern sky.
No, I should know, but I don't know. I know.
Proudly there on Hilltop High. What is the Howard motto?
In service and in truth.
That's good. Truth and service. That was good.
Oh, my bad.
Who was Howard named after?
A white guy.
That's true. What was his name?
I don't know. You know he was a white guy.
General Oliver Otis Howard.
And you know what? I knew the Otis part because I would say to myself, how is this white guy named Otis?
Right. His parents was bogus. What was the next question I was about to ask you?
The original name of Howard University Hospital.
What is the Black national anthem?
Lift every voice and sing till earth and heaven.
Yes, I love it. I love it. You got it right. That should be a bonus question. How many schools and colleges does?
I don't know. How many schools and colleges encompass Howard University?
Yes.
I don't even want to guess.
13.
Okay. Oh, I wasn't going to be that bad. I was going to say like 18.
Okay. All right. You was going to say like how many?
18.
Okay. All right. So let's get to some rapid fire questions.
Oh, Lord. Here we go.
Are you ready for some rapid fire?
Let's go.
Rapid fire questions. Is homecoming better as an alum or a student?
Alum.
Is it better to be a specialist or a generalist?
Specialist.
Your favorite Howard moment?
Graduation.
Biggest failure?
High CPU. I'm sorry, what? Say it again.
Biggest failure?
Wow, I don't know. I haven't failed because I never stopped trying.
Well, biggest learning lesson?
Starting my own business.
Okay. Howard experience?
Favorite Howard experience?
No, just what is the Howard experience? First word that comes to mind.
Empowerment.
Mentorship.
Matters.
What was this other one? Malpractice.
Can't have enough of it.
Thank you for joining the HU Movemaker podcast, where we highlight folks that have contributed to the Howard legacy at the highest levels. To hear more interviews or purchase merchandise, please visit www.humovemakers.com.